Building a better Bay Area. Moving forward, finding solutions. This is ABC7 News.
I'm Karina Nova. You're watching Getting Answers live on ABC7. We're asking experts your questions every day at 3 to get answers for you in real time. Today, people are questioning whether school leader Ann Shu should resign over offensive comments. Why the Asian American community is divided. We'll talk to SF Standard reporter Han Lee. Also, we've seen video of several seal and sea lion attacks lately. Is this normal? And what do you do if you end up in that situation? Dr. Jeff Boehm with the Marine Mammal Center joins us to discuss. But first, from California's new gun legislation to what our state is doing to protect abortion rights, and California's response to monkeypox, the status on getting more vaccines. Joining us live now is Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis to discuss all those topics. Thank you so much for being here.
Great to be with you, Karina.
All right, let's start with California's new gun legislation. It models the Texas abortion law. The new gun legislation authorizes private citizens to file civil lawsuits against gun makers and sellers. There's more to that legislation, but Lieutenant Governor, some are questioning, could this backfire if it's challenged in court?
Well, Karina, first of all, I think it's helpful for people to know that California has some of the strongest gun safety laws in the country. In our state, it's illegal to buy assault weapons. You have to be 21 to get a gun. There are background checks that are mandatory for everybody, 10-day wait periods, all kinds of things that we put in place in order to have sensible gun control in our state. So this latest law, as you noted, is basically written in a way that it parallels a law in Texas around restricting a woman's right to choose. So this creates a legal parallel that will make it so that the Supreme Court should not be able to say one is constitutional and the other is not. So this is a very smart way to really challenge the Supreme Court, such that they have to be consistent with their interpretation of certain rights under the Constitution.
All right, we heard the governor talk about that and why we passed this law. Now, talking about the Supreme Court, the recent decision by the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade in California, it is still legal to get an abortion. In fact, Governor Newsom says he wants to help protect all women in California and even the people who come here from out of state. What's the plan for California to do this?
Well, first of all, as you noted, it's really important that people know that even though the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade, which takes away a key right at the constitutional level for the country, here in California, it is still legal to access abortion. Now, what we are doing in this state is many different things in order to be able to ensure that California has the strongest possible laws going into the future. So first and foremost, people should be ready that in November, we have put on the ballot a constitutional amendment to our state constitution that will ensure a woman's right to choose and a woman's right to access birth control. So that's really important. People should look for that in the on their ballot in November when they get those in the mail. But there are all kinds of other things that we're doing. 14 laws going through the assembly right now. Some of them have already made their way through that will make it more affordable and accessible for women to access this important healthcare right, but also that will make it so that if women do come here from states, that, for instance, their information can remain private. Those kinds of things that really were unthinkable several years ago, but now are very important, not just to protect California women, but to protect women elsewhere in the country who need to come here in order to exercise their right to make their decisions for their bodies.
And we've already seen some women cross state lines to be able to access abortion. Can you talk about what California is going to do as we see an influx of more people crossing state lines here to be able to receive that health service?
So we have allocated some state funds to go to help prepare and expand access, not just for people coming from out of state, but for Californians here already. But it's going to take a lot of help from the private sector, a lot of help from philanthropy in order to be able to make sure that we have as much capacity here as possible. We don't really know how many women might have to come here, but it may be a lot. And so we're going to do what we can at the state level, but also we're really calling for philanthropists in the private sector to help as well.
Okay, we're going to change topics now because we have a lot to get through today. Let's talk about COVID-19. We've seen so many cases of the B5 variant, BA5 variant. Can you talk about what's the latest in our state when it comes to battling COVID-19 as we continue to do so?
Well, we've been saying this for 2.5 years. We know so much more about COVID today than we did in the past. We have life-saving vaccines. So it's really important that people go get vaccinated and go get those booster shots. We also have accessible testing. And so making sure that if you think you have contracted COVID, that you go and you take a test to be sure. And if you have it, to stay home and to slow and stop the spread. So it's all of the same protocols that we have had now over these last couple of years, wearing a mask. If you're immunocompromised, wearing a mask. If you think that you might be going into a place where you might catch it, those kinds of very basic protocols are still as important than ever. But nothing is more important than getting vaccinated and getting those booster shots.
Speaking of getting vaccinated, we've been covering the monkeypox vaccine shortage here at ABC7. Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital closed the vaccine clinic yesterday and today again because there are not enough vaccines. What is the biggest holdup in getting these here in California, and what's the plan moving forward?
Well, Karina, I think that here in California, across the country, people are so much more aware of infectious diseases than we ever have been. So all of this attention around monkeypox really has to do with the fact that we're just a lot more attuned and aware of the kinds of viruses that are out there that people might be able to catch. Now, monkeypox is very, very different from COVID. What we know about this is that the way you catch it is from very, very close personal contact. So at this point in California, and it's county by county, but if people think that they might be more likely to catch monkeypox, and you can talk to your doctor to see if that applies to you, you are able to find out if you're eligible for a vaccine. But as we know, there are limited numbers of these vaccines that are available. So at the state level, we are pushing very hard to get more vaccines into our counties and into our hospitals. But for individuals who think that they might be vulnerable to monkeypox or more likely to catch it, they need to talk to their doctor and make sure that they have signed up in order to be able to get a vaccine when they're available.
Yeah, very tough to get that vaccine right now for many people. We're going to move on. We only have a few minutes left with you, unfortunately, but I do have to ask about your political future. Assuming Governor Newsom wins in November, that would be his second and last term. Would you consider running for governor?
Well, Karina, I did not know you were going to ask me that question, but I'm on the ballot right now as well as the governor. So November 8th is the gubernatorial election. A lot of really important things are going to be on the ballot. I'm going to be on the ballot for re-election. I'm very hopeful that California will send me back to my office for another 4 years. And after that, we just have to take it one election at a time. But I certainly love my job, and I'm very, very honored and proud to serve the people of the state of California.
All right, we'll follow up with that question in a couple years, maybe. You also made history this year. In March, you became the first woman in California history to sign a piece of legislation into law. Can you talk about that moment and what it meant for you?
Well, I'm the first woman elected lieutenant governor in the state of California history, so it's been an incredible opportunity to be able to be an example of a glass ceiling breaker. And the opportunities like the one that you mentioned are very humbling to me. So there have been women in California making history around legislation, advocating for legislation, writing legislation. In our legislature, we have senators and assembly members who do this work all the time. But as you noted, I was the first one when the governor was out of state to actually sign a bill into law. We need more of that. I think most Californians agree that equal representation in government, in business, in the highest levels of every aspect of our society is really important to better outcomes for everybody. So again, as I mentioned, it's just a real privilege to serve and to serve in this role.
Well, thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and we'll be following up very soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
A controversy with a San Francisco school board member over her comments that some have called racist and have led to calls for her resignation. We'll dive into it with our media partners at the San Francisco Standard right after this.
In commercial break.
Now to controversy surrounding San Francisco school board member Ann Shu. Some are saying she should resign over her recent offensive comments. Joining us live now is SF Standard reporter Han Lee to dive into this. Han, thanks so much for being here once again.
Hi, Karina. Thank you for having me.
All right, first let's talk about those comments. Get us up to speed as to how we got here and why people are calling for her to resign.
Yes, so this is the latest San Francisco school board drama. So what happened was a week ago, this controversial comments from the school board member Ann Shu was presented was talked about in the social media and in the press. So what happened was school board member Ann Shu, she was answering a questionnaire, and then the question was how the school district can help improve the academic performance for the most marginalized students. And Ann Shu's answer was one of the biggest challenges she saw in the Black and Brown community, the Black and Brown families, is those children are a lack of a family support. So those comments are being considered stereotyping the Black and Brown community and families. So a lot of criticism coming and asking her to resign.
Right, and she did apologize, but as of today, any signs of Shu planning to step down from her position?
Yeah, as far as I know, she's been talking with multiple community members that she will stay in the office. And also there are increasing call from the elected officials and also community groups asking her to resign. So we will see what's happening soon.
Okay, and your article in the SF Standard, it talks about how the Asian American community is divided on this. Can you dig into that a little bit? What's been the response on both sides? Those who say, you know, she apologized, we're good to go, and then those who say, no, it's time to step down. You went too far.
Yeah, so Asian American community now has a really divided opinions on whether Anne Shu should resign or stay in the office. So even on the Board of Supervisors, we have two Asian American supervisors, Connie Chen and Gordon Ma. They disagree on this too. So Supervisor Chen, she's one of the first asking Shu to resign, but Supervisor Ma, who believes in Shu's apology and thinks she should stay in the office and follow her commitment and let the voters decide in November. And also there are community groups supporting asking Anne Shu to resign, but there are also some backlash in the community too, saying, you know, this issue should have more consultation with the community members. And also for now, Shu's strongest supporter is Mayor London Breed, who appointed her to the seat, and also her recall campaign activist, fellow activists on the recall campaign. They're still supporting her.
Yeah, I was going to ask about Mayor London Breed, who appointed Shu to the school board, but as of right now, sounds like Mayor Breed is in support.
Yes, so I interviewed Mayor Breed last week about this. Mayor Breed did say Anne Shu's comment is hurtful and also disappointing, but she want to make this a teaching moment. So both communities can build better trust, better understanding with each other. And I think she would still want her to stay in the office too.
And I have to ask, you know, there's a lot of groups that are weighing in on whether she should or should not resign. We also heard from the NAACP. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so there's a wide range of groups are asking Anne Shu to resign now, including NAACP and also a lot of Democratic Club, the teacher union. Yeah, so all of those, they issue a letter or, you know, have make a agreement on urging Anne Shu to resign too. And
it sounds like there's no plan to resign anytime soon. So what happens next?
So there will be more and more groups and more public office holder, elected official weighing in on this issue. But if Anne Shu chooses to stay in the office, then she will still be on the San Francisco School Board. And November will be the election time that the voter will decide whether she will get another 4-year term, because she was appointed by the mayor back in the February when the 3 school board members were recalled.
Yeah, it just feels like, you know, every other week or every month there's something new happening with the San Francisco School Board. Can you talk about, you know, what this latest controversy says about the school board and, you know, just what's the shape of it, what's going on right now?
Yeah, so San Francisco School Board has been in a really chaotic situation for, you know, the past year because of the recall and also the pandemic. So a year ago, then school board member Allison Collins was also in a similar situation like Anne Shu right now. Some of her old tweets was being considered really racially offensive. So that led to a political firestorm of, you know, elected officials and community groups asking her to resign. And also the school reopening, the Lowell High School merit-based controversy and the renaming. So all this just combined together, making San Francisco School Board such a topic in national news even. So the Anne Shu is also the latest episode of all this.
And I know you'll continue covering this, and we will continue reading in the San Francisco Standard your other original reporting. Thank you so much, Han Lee, for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
And you can check out more of the San Francisco Standard's other original reporting on their website, sfstandard.com. And ABC7 will continue to bring you more segments featuring the Standard city-focused journalism. Look for that twice a week right here on Getting Answers at 3 p.m. Okay, you're swimming at the beach and you get attacked by a seal. It can happen, and we have video to prove it. What you should do to stay safe in the water if that happens to you when we return.
In commercial break. Eight, 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Video captured the moment a California woman was attacked by a monk seal in Hawaii. She was swimming in Waikiki Sunday when apparently she got a little too close. There were warning signs posted at the beach alerting swimmers not to go near the nursing monk seals, and that woman did end up with several cuts from the encounter. Wow, just amazing watching that video. You've probably seen it all over social media. And joining us live now is Jeff Boehm, who is a veterinarian and works with the Marine Mammal Center to give us more perspective on this. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Karina. Pleasure.
Okay, so first question. I feel like we've seen video after video just recently of similar incidents. How unusual is this? There was some video out of San Diego a few weeks ago of seals chasing people on the beach. So is this just the fact that people are recording more and we're seeing it more, or is there something more to this?
I think people are recording these things more, but I think there is more to it. This incident in Hawaii was really dramatic and is getting a lot of coverage. Very unfortunate situation, but hopefully it's raising some awareness. The footage out of San Diego, likewise, very dramatic. What it prompts for me, though, is a reminder to people to realize that we've got this gorgeous coastline, Hawaii or California. We share it. We share it with wildlife. And when we move off of the sand into the water, we're entering their realm, their domain. And one should do that with appreciation for the wildlife, but first and foremost with respect.
Right. I mean, we're on their territory, right?
Right.
So from what we've reported, Jeff, it sounds like that woman, the video that we saw, she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I mean, is that right? Was she happened to be there? The seal happened to be not happy with her being there. And I watched this multiple times. It doesn't seem like she's trying too hard to swim to shore. You know, what's your take on this?
Right, and it's hard not having been there, right? But I think to say wrong place, wrong time is a little bit giving a pass. There's signage up. There are individuals and organizations like our own that are out on these beaches in Hawaii, along the coast here, making clear with signage and with tape and with other things the fact that there is wildlife present. And I think the onus is on us to respect that, to do the due diligence, if you will, before you go swimming, and take stock in the fact that we're entering a beautiful area with wildlife that's hardwired to protect itself, certainly to protect its pup. And that's what was going on in this instance.
Right. So is it the fact that it sounds like the seal was protecting its pup? I mean, is that what's happening recently? Is this that time of the year?
Yeah, and in some, certainly it is that time of the year. And in some cases, the case you referenced down in San Diego, that is just, you have this urban wildlife interface. My gosh, could it be more traumatic than at that beach in San Diego? Here in the Bay Area, for your viewers, we too enjoy more and more wildlife in San Francisco Bay and along our ocean coast. We're seeing porpoises back in San Francisco Bay after decades of being absent. We have folks who swim at Aquatic Park and are sometimes entertained by, sometimes a little intimidated by the seals or sea lions that they'll encounter there. What we recommend is that people really take stock in what they can do to respect that space. So stay back. If you're wondering if you're too close, you're too close. Maybe keep a half football field in mind. If you want to get closer, use your camera, zoom in, get the photos you want, but respect those animals. This is really our responsibility, as I see it.
Yeah, and I have to ask, what if you are in that situation? You're that woman that we saw in the video. How do you defend yourself? Fight back? Probably not fight back. I would swim away as fast as
Correct.
you can. What's the advice?
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to speak to some of the swimmers over at Aquatic Park, as have some of my colleagues here at the Marine Mammal Center. And our advice is very straightforward. Just try to stay calm, back away from the animals, get yourself out of the water, go swim another day or swim in another area, but kind of keep a they were here first kind of attitude and give them the space they deserve. If you ever see an animal that you think is not well, by all means, give us a call. We're the world's largest marine mammal hospital, and we're ready to come out, assess those animals safely, bring them into care if we need to. One can contact us at 415-289-SEAL, that's 7325, or visit our website to learn more.
All right, wonderful. And real quick, we have about 15 seconds left. Aside from sharks, any other animals we should be aware of when they're swimming in the ocean or at the beach, especially here in the Bay Area?
I think bear in mind that there is wildlife, big and small, in any water that you're going to enter into. So whether it's the presence of yourself or the trash you're leaving behind or your dog that might be off a leash, seabirds, monk seals, California sea lions, sharks, they all deserve our respect.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Jeff Bohm. We really appreciate it and the work that you're doing. Getting Answers continues in just a moment, but first a reminder, you can get our live newscast, breaking news, weather, and more with our ABC7 Bay Area streaming TV app. It's available on Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, and Roku. Just search ABC7 Bay Area and download it.
wrap it up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you so much for joining us on this interactive show, Getting Answers. We are here every weekday at 3 on air and live streaming your answers and your questions online. World News Tonight with David Muir is up next.